I want to talk about the biggest problems that I'm facing right now. But really, I think what I want to talk about are the next problems that I need to solve in my life right now. And as I already, and my mind is not very clear on what those problems are, but I do have a general direction. And so I think, as I already mentioned in yesterday's video, I think the two next, this way, let's do it like this. The two next problems I need to solve in order to make progress in my life are one, my sleep schedule, and two, basically my nutrition, arguably. And the reason why I'm a bit unsure about what the proper next problem to solve is, because I feel like especially the sleep schedule is connected to a bigger problem, which is my overall lack of energy. And it's like I want to fix my sleep schedule because in order to reliably make compounding changes to my life, I need to have a stable foundation. And that stable foundation for me is to get up at the same time every morning and go to bed at the same time every morning. And so this is like basically like the first level of making weird hand movements that have nothing to do with what I'm saying here. Basically, it's like solving this problem of fixing my sleep schedule serves two purposes at once. And the first purpose is that is basically, let's call it behavioral strategy, because it allows me to have a proper fundament on which I can then build and stack new behaviors on top of. So for example, if I can get up reliably at the same time every day, and if I manage to get up early, which I will come to in a second, then I can stack the next behavior on top of that, which would be doing exercises, and then I can stack the next behavior on top of that, which would be making these videos essentially, and then I can stack the next behavior on top of that, which would be to reliably go to work at a reasonable time and not be late and be somewhat full of energy at work. Okay, let's forget about the work thing, but I can do my exercises reliably and I can work on these videos reliably every single day. And then after that I can reliably, it helps me, and then after that, getting up reliably at the same time every day helps me then to even stack more and more behaviors on top of that later on. So that's the first reason why I need to get my sleep schedule fixed, because I need it for my behavioral strategy. And then the second reason is because my energy levels at the moment are incredibly low, and I'm pretty sure my broken sleep schedule has a lot to do with that. And then also, if I have a reliable sleep schedule, then I can like tick this off when I have a reliable sleep schedule and I'm still not feeling energized most of the time, then I can tick this off of the list of potential causes and see if there are other things that I can do or that I have to address in order to improve my energy levels. Okay, so this is why I think I should sleep. This is why I think I should fix my sleep schedule and why this is basically priority 1 at the moment for me to make any kind of progress. Now the question is, how the fuck am I going to do this? Because over the last few months I have failed horrendously at the simple task of going to bed and especially waking up at the same time every single day. And the answer is, I don't know, but I have a few ideas that I want to implement. So I will talk about the ideas that I think might help me to properly implement a good sleep schedule, and then I will talk about the different ways I think I could potentially approach this, and I'm not sure which way is the right one, but maybe I can figure it out by talking about it. So let's start with the steps that I can take to improve my sleep schedule. And really the problem that I'm facing is not necessarily going to bed on time. I think this is the easier part to fix. For me it is getting out of bed, as I already also talked about in yesterday's video. And so to reiterate or to repeat, reiterate is such a fancy word for such a bad video. To repeat, basically when I wake up in the morning right now, the problem that I'm having is the alarm goes off, I stop the alarm, and then I go back to bed, and then the alarm goes off sometime later again, and the cycle repeats. So really the problem is that yeah, that's a good question. What is the problem if I really try to make it short? I can't. But anyways, the problem is getting out of bed in the morning and then staying out of bed and not going back into bed after I have snoozed on the alarm. That's not quite as shortly put. That's also probably not the right way to say this, but anyways, and what are my ideas in order to try and fix this? So that's a good question. I think I actually might have forgotten most of my ideas, to be honest, because as always, I haven't written down a single thing before starting this video. And I wrote down some ideas yesterday, but of course I forgot most of them. The main idea that I had was to basically, since I have a daily document that I read daily, as you could have guessed from the name, as you might have surmised, is that a word? As you might have surmised from the name, it's a document that I read on my phone every day. And so I added a sub-document there. I also already talked about this yesterday, but anyways, I added a sub-document there that essentially it's basically split in 2 parts. The first part is simple steps that I want to take in the morning. And so the idea behind this is that I am insanely tired when I wake up and I stop the alarm. And so if I can, instead of basically what I'm doing right now, I'm just automatically drifting towards getting into bed again. And so the idea is to kind of program myself, or basically to, it's like right now, once I have stopped the alarm, I automatically go back to bed without thinking a lot about it. And so essentially what I want to do is I want to swap that behavior with behaviors that help me to become more awake, but I still want to do these behaviors basically automatically. And so the first part of the document that I read every day is basically the steps that I take in order to not go back, in order not to go back to bed, and in order to wake up. And so these steps are essentially: one, even before I turn off the alarm, I switch on the light in my room. Then number two, even while switching off the alarm, so what I realized what I do is I take my phone where the alarm is on and I sit down on my couch, and then I turn off the alarm. And what I realized is when I sit on the couch after the alarm is turned off, I often feel incredibly tired. And so I basically kind of start to lay down on the couch, and I'm thinking like, oh no, it's stupid to lay down on the couch. Just go to bed and lay down in bed. And so then that's what I do. And the idea, therefore, is to not sit down on the couch in order to avoid this, but also two, because I think it's easier for me to get awake and to stay awake when I actually stand as opposed to sitting. So that's number two. Number three is to get into my exercising clothes, which is really just putting on a sweatshirt, and that's it. And then number four is starting with my exercises. And I mostly do the same exercises every single day. And so this is something that you can really easily kind of automate in a sense. And so yeah, so those are the 4 steps, and I read them daily in order to, I don't fucking know, hope that they drift into my subconscious, and so that therefore over time it really just becomes an automatic behavior that I do without having to think about it and without having to push my willpower to do it. And then the second step is I have written down some thoughts that I want to think in order to, one, keep me on the behaviors that keep me out of bed, and two, in order to push myself to stay out of bed. And so I read those thoughts every single day as well. And this is really the main thing I have done, or the main change I'm doing in order to actually get up early. And it's like, my experience tells me that that the likelihood of this working is pretty low. Another idea that I had is to take vitamin B12 and vitamin D supplements, because there's a good chance that I'm deficient in them anyways, and they are said to, or having a deficiency in vitamin B and or vitamin D and or vitamin B12, I think can be a reason for a lack of energy. And so when I'm incredibly tired in the morning, that basically is a lack of energy, and so maybe taking those supplements helps. I'm not really a big fan of having to rely on supplements in order to live. But anyways, I'm fucking desperate, so I'm going to try it. Yeah, and those are really the two main actions I came up with. Then, and I will come back to the vitamin deficiency in a second, because this is kind of the second thing that I stumbled upon yesterday. But anyways, let's keep talking about getting up early for now. And so then there are two ideas that I have in order to get up early. The first idea is to, instead of doing a behavior that instead of getting up early in order to do my exercises, I might as well get up early in order to do something that I really want to do. And then the motivation to do that cruel activity would propel me to actually get up and stay awake in the morning. However, and this might also be part of the reason why I'm always so, why I always have so little energy, there's not really any activities that make me feel excited. Like in the past, and especially when I was a little boy, there were a lot of things that made me want to wake up in the morning in order to just do those things. And like there were not that many, but at least there were some activities, which is better than right now. And I know that the last things that did this for me were like it's crazy how fast time goes by. I feel like it was a few months ago, to be honest. Or it's more like I feel I haven't changed a single. It's not even like I haven't changed a single bit. It's like I feel like I have made zero progress since that time. But essentially the last time that I felt excited to go up and do something was for video games, and this was like basically more than 4 years ago. Yeah, it was like at the end of 2020, really at the end of 2020. So basically, 4.5 years almost. Really almost 5 years. Holy shit. What did I want to say? Yeah, so video games made me excited to wake up in the morning. And then, that's really the only real thing that made me like really excited to get up in the morning. Like there were some like special days, but video games were something that was like somewhat controlled by me, where I could be like I was also like excited to get out of bed on my birthday, but that's not something that was within my control. With video games, I could like buy a new video game that I was excited about, and then decide that I'm going to play the video game the next morning, and then I would be excited in the morning. Yeah. But that's really everything I can remember. And it's also like, this is also a bit critical, because it's like, when you think about, let's say, doing things that have a deeper purpose, when you think of that as creating, where creating something has a deeper purpose, and simply consuming, where there isn't really a deeper purpose to it, then playing video games is also just consuming, and it's like not the best long-term activity anyways. I'm getting completely distracted here. But anyways, I think this is actually an interesting thought, which I will talk about right now. It's like, only consuming is in my experience, pretty bad, because I have only been consuming and not ever really creating, and especially not ever really creating something of high quality for my entire life. And my life sucks bad right now, and I think that only consuming and not creating is one of the main reasons why this is the case. Or maybe it's not one of the main reasons, I don't really think it, I'm not sure if it is, but it's like if I swapped all the consuming I did with creating, then my life would be in a way better state right now. However, and this is very interesting, when you create something, so let's take the example of video games. I feel like, and especially also right now, and this is why I have arguably also problems to get up in the morning, because I tried to say, oh, okay, I'm gonna play a video game in the morning, and I didn't feel any motivation to get up, because playing video games just isn't as exciting as it used to be to me right now. And it's like, so if you only consume, so if you only play video games, then that is not really a very meaningful activity, at least for me and in my experience. But when you say, okay, I want to program a video game, which in my opinion is basically, you can see as creating some kind of art, and you say, okay, I'm going to sit down and try to program my own video game for 2 hours every single day. Then suddenly, if you have done your 2 hours of programming, and then let's say you still have some free time, then suddenly playing video games for 2 hours after that becomes way more meaningful, because now you can take inspiration for your own game from the games that you play. You can like look at the graphics and at the artwork and take inspiration for the graphics and the artwork of your own game. You can look at the at the game mechanics and think about and copy some of those game mechanics that you like into your own game, and you can look at the game mechanics you don't like and think about how you could improve them, or you can look at the game mechanics you like and think about how you can improve them even further to make them even cooler, and then take all of these ideas and try to implement them into your own game. And so then suddenly playing video games becomes way more meaningful, because you are also at the same time parallel to that creating video games. And I think this is quite an important, or at least quite an interesting concept that I think that I might want to use in the future for my own life. I will talk about why in a second. But the general concept on a more abstract level is that you can turn consuming from a meaningless activity into a meaningful activity by adding creating to it. Okay, this sentence did not come out quite as good as I expected it to be, but anyways, it's like, you can also say creating something in a certain area makes consuming in that area more meaningful. And so I think this is quite interesting for me, because I feel a very deep connection to reading fantasy books, which, looking at it from a self-improvement perspective, really is quite an is an activity that is, well, not really improving myself. 2, not really helping me to achieve my goals. And 3, and this is kind of the same as with the games, it's like, it's kind of frustrating me almost at the moment, because this is so sad. I have been reading some books lately, and not really lately, it's a few months ago, but anyways, and I felt quite frustrated with my own life as I progressed, or maybe progress is the wrong word, it's like as I continued to read the book, because it was like the protagonist in the book was making progress and basically improving his life and having interesting, I mean, it's not really about having interesting experiences for me, but the protagonist in the book was making progress and improving his life. And meanwhile, I couldn't help but like look at my own life and realize that I was on a slow but increasingly steeper downward slope. And so essentially I was comparing myself with the protagonists of these books and realizing that they were making progress. I was making no progress. And honestly, it ruined the experience of reading books for me to quite a considerable degree. I won't fucking lie. And so this idea of creating and consuming, I think can re-spark my love for reading, because if, and this is a big if because I'm far away from that right now, but if I started to, let's say, try to write my own fantasy book for 1 hour each day, then suddenly I could use reading other fantasy books as a way to take lessons for writing my own fantasy book, and a way to take inspiration for my own fantasy book. Basically the same thing as with playing games and programming your own game. It's the same principle. So yeah, this is why I think like creating and consuming at the same time is a very good thing. However, this is honestly also making me very sad right now and filled with regret, because I have been knowing about self-improvement for basically 8 years now. I have taken basically 0 successful steps to properly improve my life in that time. And I feel like this idea of, especially in the context of fantasy books, this idea of creating and consuming parallel to each other could have massively improved my life over the last 7 years or so, up until, I don't know, 8 or 10 months ago. Basically up until a year ago. So up until a year ago, this concept would have really improved my life if I had applied it, which of course is a different question altogether again, but still. And like, now that I'm actually hearing about it and getting clarity on it, I am in a situation where I have so little time and freedom. I don't really think it still applies to my life a lot. Okay, so yeah, we got into this talk by talking about or by talking about the potential strategy of me planning a cool activity to do immediately after waking up in order to make getting out of bed easier. But, well, I have already tried to do this in the past, and there are no really such activities. However, maybe I will just try it again. We will see. So this was like the third potential step in order to try to get up early after reading a daily document and after taking vitamins. And then, do I have a fourth step? Oh yeah, and then the fourth step is so in true stupid self-improvement manier. I don't know if this is a word, it probably isn't. Following the true stupid self-improvement path, my plan is to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning. And so there's the very reasonable argument that most of the problem of waking up, of getting out of bed, maybe have to do with the fact that I'm trying to get out of bed at 4 in the morning. I have my reasons for trying to do this because it's just cooler to do all the important things in your life before going to work. It is cooler to do all the important things in your life before the things that you need to do. And getting up so early basically is the only way I see to do this. But if this effort fails, the only proper chance for me to get my sleep schedule together would arguably be to get up at 6 a.m. reliably and to also sleep more hours each day. But if I haven't figured this out by tomorrow, or if I feel like I want to talk about this again, then I will continue talking about this. See you.